Okay. Hey, everyone. Welcome to the Gno.land developer call core team edition. It's the 29th of November. And we are, for the first time, testing out our new format. So just for the contributors and partners on the call, we have a new way that we're doing internal no core updates. So we've broken it down into sections like what to know section, focusing on the blockchain, Gno.land blockchain section, the DAOs and economics section, VM and Gno.lang, and then Tendermint 2. And then we have a Q&A and free-form discussion that could go on longer, but trying to condense this into an hour with the potential to go longer. And then also in the section with Q&A, if you guys have blockers, that would be a good time. So I'm going to hand it over to Miloš and Manfred and Ray to kick us off with updates or team updates on what to know. So the high-level TLDR.
Okay, I guess I can skim through the high-level updates. For each of these, I kind of labeled who was sort of responsible, who's leading that effort. So if anybody has any questions, they can ask in the chat, and that person hopefully will answer. And if you want to start a discussion or something, this person would kind of be the point person for it. So yeah, what's new? The TLDR is we've introduced a new message type. It's called message run. It's going to be covered later on. Basically, it's a way for you to run main execution blocks on your realms. We introduced a new dev command, which is called Gno dev, and Guillaume is actually going to demo it for us later in the call. Guillaume also added in-memory Gno node functionality. This basically enables us to create in-memory Gno nodes with like orchestration and everything, which gives us kind of superpowers in testing and combining logic and making sure some flows work the way they should. We've improved the testing speed runtime by I think around 3 or 4 minutes, and this was just by executing the test in parallel. We can actually speed this up even more. We just need to refactor some test scenarios. They're not like super concurrent friendly. We merged in the version 1 of the official documentation. These docs are going to deploy to docs.gno.land. They're just pending some DNS changes before they go live, but they're live on the repo. You can actually look through them. I think we have like a temporary deployment somewhere that's not public, but yeah, if you want to go through the docs, you can do so by pulling in the repo, going into MISC, Docusaurus, and just running the Docusaurus start command. And this is going to serve the docs locally for you. Next, we're finalizing the infrastructure that we need for some of our portal loop efforts. Let me see this new update by Thomas. Replace Gno build command with Gno precompile go build. So just an improvement. Morgan added a new package, demo sec ID, and wrapped up implementations of some additional features for the math package. I think this is also covered later on.
Yeah.
Okay, what's planned for the next 2 weeks? So we have a small core team retreat in France, which is in mid-December. Manfred can probably touch up more on that. I know we're prepping an agenda and just like a general roadmap for the retreat. Most of the core team is going to be there. Dylan is working on setting up some kind of better metrics collection system and tracing system that taps into Prometheus, utilizes OpenTelemetry, and ties in with some of the Grafana instances that we have. Guillaume is taking on the Goliath task of finally fixing the BFT CI. That's, I think, one of the most flaky things that we have. And he's, I think, close to finishing that PR. Finally, Morgan is working on bridging, bringing over all packages from Node.js into the main repo. and generally just working on launching GNO.chess this time for like the general public. And yeah, the final update that we have from me and Antonio, we're working on kickstarting some peer-to-peer infrastructure discussions. We basically made a POC where we transitioned our entire networking layer to libp2p, and just made very basic protocol that like showcase how peers can connect, and how they work using libp2p, and how we can basically create protocols on top of it. So yeah, that's gonna be live in the next few weeks. Yeah. For section 2, I'm not sure who is covering section 2. Michelle?
We can throw it out. I guess who can cover that, especially around like faucet, portal loop clients.
Oh wait, we have the demo by Guillem in this section, right?
Okay, is it ready, Guillem, or should I screen share with you?
Yeah, I can do it.
Cool. Henry.
So let me share my screen. Is it big enough?
Yep.
Okay, cool. So I've been working on Gno.dev, which is a command that starts actually an in-memory node along GNO web service. So it just this, you type this, and it will run like the node and a GNO web, and it will watch for the given package actually for file change and update your realm in real time. So I make a basic demo with a simple GNO mod and a simple file in GNO. That's it. So I'm gonna showcase this. So to start it, you simply like select your package. So in my case, it's in the current directory. So I just run it. I got one key with already running. So I just, I don't know why. Oh yeah, it's not GNO anymore. It's Gno.dev. Because before that, I was running Gno.dev, but now I put it in contrib, so it's no Gno.dev. It's Gno.dev directly. So let's run it. That's it. So it's in raw terms, so you can directly put your command. You don't have to type your command. You can just press command. So you have two. For now, you have two commands: reset the state of the application and reload the application. So let me show you how it works. So I have a basic hello package. If I make some change, sorry. So for example, hello render. It directly detects the change, reload the entire node, and if you refresh, I don't have the hot reload in like in GS, but you don't have to change the realm. You are in the same realm with direct change. If you make some state change, I think it's this one. No. Yeah, sorry. So I will increase the state. The change is taking into account, but I can continue changing the whole thing without infecting the state. Keep the state, and if you want actually to reset the state, you can just press CTRL R, to reset the whole state, and it will be back to 0. You can see it if I add a method here. Will reload, and you will see it here too. So you can basically like work on your realm and have updating in real time without having to upload your package every time and keeping the current state of the application. So that's it for now. I would love to have something like to interact directly with realm, like in a command line manner, like to do like something like this to directly impact the state of your real and to develop faster with a really handy method. And that's it for now. I think I made a preview. Yeah.
So I don't know how many people here try to develop contracts using the web interface, because if you don't need the web interface, you can just use a test development driven approach and write some unit tests, run the test, patch your code, run the test, patch your code, etc. But if you want to make something with web, right now it was super painful. I think Morgan has this experience with Gno.land. I think Dragosh has the experience with Flipando. So if guys, you can give some feedback and some try and tell how much it's solving most of your constraints and pains, and how much we can improve this tool. The goal of this tool is to be kind of standalone. It won't be in the main directories because it's not minimalist. But I think for good reason, it should just try to be the no-brainer function for people who are not blockchain expert, but just trying to write contracts with a built-in web app. So yeah, we need more feedback. We need to merge something, and then we need to iterate around the dedicated tool.
Yeah, I maybe need like a user management, like to add more user if you want to, and with a different balance on everything.
Yeah.
But I think for now, for first iteration, it's work. Yeah, I would love to hear some feedback.
I think we clearly now have a good tool for when we make workshops or getting started session, where people just give a try to their first contract, and then they can learn the whole thing, but at least they can give an initial try without too much constraints.
Yep. That's it. Thank you.
Did you see the question, Gilham?
Oh, no, sorry.
Dragos, can you run 2 sessions in parallel, one for a package?
Actually, you can target any package you want. Like you can do Gno.div and target any package you want. And if you are talking with the example folder, you don't even have to target a package, because now I am in temp folder. So I am not in the example folder, but if you are working actually on the example folder, it's automatically loaded. If you don't want to load the example folder, I got a minimal command, which actually doesn't load the example folder at all. So I don't know. Yeah, it's work. Yeah, because I don't import anything here, but it's faster. But normally you load the whole example folder, so you don't even have to target multiple folders.
Any other questions? Or thanks, Gilham.
Thank you.
Okay, I will quickly get back to the. Okay, so we have the section where we focus mostly on the Gno.land blockchain. I think the first one is from Morgan. It's the issue 1330 around allowing testing packages to contain test files with packages xtest.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, sorry, just concentrating for a second. Yeah. So allowing test packages. So this one is actually done by Albert, but I'll quickly run through it. Not much to say about this one. It's just a short and sweet update, whereby it used to be the case that if you had a package with like package x_test, it wouldn't work. Now it does. You often want to do this when you want to like test the package by only testing its exported functions. So this way you're actually importing it and making sure that everything works. There are some sort of problems right now with how exactly that works, because the way we import packages does not exactly integrate well with Gnomod, but that will be tackled further down the line. Yeah, that's pretty much all there is to say about this one.
The other ones are around, it looks like around, well, okay, the one from Github, but new message, type message run, covered later, okay. And then, I don't know, Albert, do you want to give a quick update related to things like the faucet portal loop around upcoming testnet deployments and testnet 4?
I don't think he's on the call.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, I can give a small update for it.
Thanks.
Basically, what we're doing is we're trying to streamline the current processes that we have for the existing testnets, but for all future testnet deployments too. This basically involves the entire backup process that we currently have for TX exports, reloading the chain with changes from mainnet. This is kind of where portal loop ties in. We want to be able to have a deployment, that's people can play around with, but it also has the latest fixes from the master branch. So yeah, this task that Albert is working on is basically setting up cron jobs and scripts and workers for automatic backups and automatic reloads and automatic deployments. So any kind of future testnet deployment that we have is going to be much simpler. And as for test 4, I'm not sure exactly when we're launching it. I don't think we had a discussion.
It's after portal loop. Portal loop, we finish. So what you said, we have a new staging, and then we start thinking about what should be put in testnet 4. So we have the portal loop about having the latest version, but with the drawback of having inconsistent block numbers and other constraints for people trying to create an indexer or tools around. So most people could be able to use the staging to write their contract. I will personally try to publish my contract on Gno.land instead of test 3 or test 4. But if you want to have an official testnet that is more persistent, we will have a testnet 4 with the latest version of Git, but without the auto update as for staging. So testnet 3, which is deprecated because ADL is not compatible and most of the contract cannot be published. The goal is to fix by providing a new automatic staging that will always be up to date, and by providing a testnet 4 that will probably allow us to deprecate testnet 3. I think we will just get testnet 3 for a few months, but the goal is to have something relatively recent to use for anyone, especially for people building tools around, like wallets or indexers. So I think we will release portal loop in the upcoming weeks, and then testnet 4 is something we can discuss in details. So we have a plan. Probably in December we'll have the plan, and I think we can target a launch as soon as the listed features are identified. Listed features mean what we want people to give a try, actually.
Will testnet 4, I think this is something with OnBlock, but will testnet 4 have the multi-node?
No, multi-node is another testnet
that will run
ecosystem. Testnet. So actually, I don't know if we will keep the name testnet. Probably we'll change to something else. But the current test 3, test 4, test X are focused on discovering Gno.land, the language, writing contracts, trying to interact with contracts. And the goal is not to prove that it's multi-node, etc., but to have a good playground for developers. While on the side, we want to test how much we are multi-node ready, and we'll have a dedicated testnet for this. So another testnet on the side that can be restarted because validators want to restart it. So we'll have a testnet for dApp writers and another testnet for infrastructure needs with independent life cycles. But it's clearly something that is, I think, the next step after Portal Loop 2, because Albert will be ready for this. It's something we already start to discuss, and the goal is to create a small community of validators who can debug, give feedback, make fixes, so it won't be a massive test right now. It's not yet about testing, about benchmarking or testing the limits. it's first to work on coordination, improving debugging features, improving ways to share the problems and everything, and maybe later we'll open to a wider audience. So let me find the related hackerspace issue. We have one where we propose people to raise their hands if they want to participate in the multi-node testnet. Hackerspace issues. You can go forward with the rest of the meeting. I will pass the link.
Okay. I guess, are there any other updates from the team on the faucet, basically also the clients? Some of the clients we discussed last week with around the API strategy, official SDKs, no client for Gophers, CLI-oriented SDKs. Is there anything we need to update here?
I'm not sure if there's an update for the Go client. For the JavaScript clients, there's going to be an update for the new message type that Manfred introduced. So the new message run is going to be added.
Okay, and also everyone, if you want to ask questions, like on block, Birdie, Dragos, jump in and ask questions. This is also a time to do so. If not, if you guys do have questions, raise them. If not, we can move on to the next update. Okay, shall we move on? I guess this one I hand over. Michael, want to give everyone an update on what's new in the DAO and economics?
Yeah, definitely. So we've made a whole ton of progress since Miami here. There's still a couple small discrepancies we have to talk through. Probably Tuesday, Jay is going to be joining us at the tokenomics call. But essentially, more or less, we know what governance is going to look like. We know what the DAO structure is going to look like now. Generally, what rewards are going to look like, at least how it's all going to function. So what we were previously calling contributor DAO, the main body that's going to be governing Gno.land, we're calling that Gov DAO for now, but that'll be a tiered system, whereas somebody essentially contributes more to the project, they'll be raised up the tier list, and they will earn more flat rewards and more voting power as a result. We'll have Works DAO, which is essentially a support DAO that'll encompass all the tasks that AIB currently performs as we kind of slowly decentralize ourselves out of the process. So you can think of that, engineering, grants, things of that nature. Evaluation DAO now falls under that category, where they'll be able to add new members to lower tiers, similar to how tiers will be able to govern tiers under them, but Evaluation DAO will also have power to add new members. It seems like they're also going to essentially be a formal system to write, it'll be like a trusted body to write basically a critic review of contributions to help define this is what differentiates a decent contribution from an amazing contribution. So they still likely will have an evaluation process. It just won't be quite as tied into governance as it was previously. We can dig into all this in extreme detail on Tuesday here. But because of some of these decisions here, we're able to start getting some more official documentation out, in addition to what Milos was mentioning here. So hopefully by Friday, I'll have at least ready for review a write-up on how the governance module is going to function, which is also a Game of Realms task. So that'll help explain exactly where community contributors can hop in and help out in terms of phase 1. So that'll be fully defined, how governance is going to be working. Maybe we'll wait till Tuesday to confirm the doc when we go over everything, but we'll at least it'll at least be good to go by Friday here. Took a bit of a detour with Prop 848 here, just did a little bit of research into that. We're still working on some simulations here even after the fact, just to explore things a little bit further, doing some analysis on how the vote breakdown went, and just kind of general preliminary work, trying to help out with Atom 1 a little bit and do a little bit of preliminary modeling and kind of see what that may look like as well. So that'll be an ongoing process here over time. And of course, everyone's welcome to go to the Atom One GitHub and check out what Jay and everyone else has been working on here. So, and then coming up here, we're finally hopefully going to be nailing down fee and gas systems, as well as estimation systems for that. So Dylan made a really fantastic opcode benchmarking system. So I'm going to be setting up my Docker to give that a run. He's currently using it to, I believe, check out basically how long it takes to run different opcodes. I'm going to be looking more at resource requirements for the different opcodes. And then from there, since our gas system is probably going to resemble, or just fees in general is probably going to resemble how Ethereum currently functions, EIP 1559, with maybe some extra parameters for us to take into account storage and CPU requirements still, but it'll be more similar to Ethereum than it used to be. We'll be able to hopefully benchmark all kinds of different transactions and get a whole bunch of estimation work done and a whole bunch of just general fee equation and gas system work done. So I'm planning for within the next 2 weeks for that. I'm going to be meeting with Milish very soon to kind of discuss implementation there, maybe Ray as well, and then again Dylan to go over the benchmarking setup he built, which is very cool. Further Game of Realms automation, John and I have been bouncing back and forth automating at least the kind of surrounding process of Game of Realms, the submission process, feedback once you do make a submission, a specific directory structure that Manfred set up that we're building everything into. Eventually, this will all cycle into Portal Loop that was mentioned in the previous update here, where this will essentially going to create an Oracle that's going to be feeding GitHub data on chain, and then that'll automatically be displayed on our website. It'll show things like newest PRs, newest contributors, things of that nature throughout an Oracle, basically tapping into our GitHub CI and as of now Python automation, but I'm sure we'll eventually swap that over to Gno and make it a formal realm once prototyping and testing is done. I just work a little bit faster in other languages for now, but the Gno snake that I'm building will quickly change that, I'm sure. So yeah, again, Game of Realms focus here. I met with Vale to go over some aspects of that since we had the meeting pushed back for Game of Realms by a little bit. But again, we're going to be defining some tasks like the governance module. We're going to likely start monthly community meetings to the public just to go over, hey, if you were to contribute to Game of Realms at this exact moment, here are some tasks you can hop in on to give more specific updates to the community and kind of field more questions and involvement and things of that nature. And that's going to go in tandem with us kind of defining how we're going to internally score Game of Realms contributions separately from Gno.land mainnet contributions. They'll both have different systems. Game of Realms will look individually at each contribution, while again, Gno.land will be tier based and essentially more like a flat reward opposed to specifically evaluating each individual contribution like we're doing with Game of Realms. So scoring system should have some documentation on that in addition to governance stuff coming up here in the next couple weeks, maybe some simulations for some different aspects of that as well. Going to be meeting with Michelle, start a regular economics podcast here, which should be fun, covering, I think, not even just Gno.land, but basically, larger concepts as a whole and really getting as granular as anyone wants us to get from there. But I think that'll be kind of just a fun extra thing to throw in. I'm not sure if we're looking at doing it weekly or monthly, but regardless, it'll work great. I'm looking forward to it. And as Milish mentioned, we do have the France trip coming up to see Manfred and the rest of the Gno.land team. So I'm looking forward to, Miami was super productive in terms of nailing down a bunch of ideas and kind of settling on some different things we've been bouncing around. So I'm sure France will be similarly great, and it'll be great to see everybody. I think I just got a question. When's the first episode planned in terms of the podcast? I think that largely, I mean, pretty much whenever Michelle wants. So if you want to answer.
We've planned out the. Sorry, I'm jumping in, but I think there's two things. If you guys want to get involved, we have a name, Nomonomics. But if you think of something better, let us know. And we've come up with the first 4 to 5 episodes. So yeah, stay tuned, I guess, for us on Spotify. No, but I can share the content that we've been discussing. If everyone wants to contribute, it would be great, because it's supposed to be a little bit based off of Freakonomics. I don't know if you're familiar with this, but yeah, starting in December. Okay, I guess that I don't know if anyone has questions, but maybe if there's quickly an update on the finalizing the fee and gas systems. I know that like it had been something that Jeff had brought up several times.
Yeah, so that'll be helpful for Birdie in terms of building out the mobile infrastructure. So at first we just kind of needed to finalize exactly how we wanted it to work. Now that we have a better idea of that, now at this point I have maybe 4 or 5 different equations drafted out and a couple different ideas of varying complexity versus modularity kind of trade-off for how simple it is versus how much customization it offers, how many knobs to play with. So we'll find a happy medium between that and pick whichever one seems to make the most sense. And at this point, it is largely making final decisions based off of what's going to be less of a nightmare to implement, and what we think will have a good mix between those two. Yeah, go ahead, Jeff. Do you have a question, Jeff? Go ahead.
I didn't unmute. So that's for estimating the gas before sending the transaction. But if it actually does run out during the transaction, then it's a matter of getting that error code back. So this is also kind of related to what I just pasted, which is getting meaningful error codes back from the validators instead of just a string. And it's also related to what we're talking with Milosh about of once we do have validator pools and we have endpoints, how exactly does a client connect to that and wait for a possible out of gas error? So I'm not asking you to answer all these things, but there are a bunch of related things going on.
That makes a ton of sense. I'll take a bunch of notes here. I'll even follow up with you after we get off here, just super quick. I'll make sure that we run all this by everyone when we meet on the more implementation aspects of that, because I think that makes a ton of sense. I'm sure that would be helpful in all kinds of other areas, and I'm sure some of the engineers here would be able to comment on that a little further.
Okay, thanks.
By the way, Michelle, I can share a demo for the message run. I don't know.
So do we want to move to the? I mean, I guess our question's done for the DAO.
No,
and
it's it's after. Sorry.
No, just
that's the bulk of what we've got worked out here. There's a handful of other smaller things and a handful of other scripts and simulations and stuff we're kind of building in the background. We're still kind of tentatively doing some AI research, machine learning research, and kind of training a private AI on some new summarization methods to extend its memory and store things privately and truncate everything when the memory gets full automatically, or summarize and truncate everything once the memory is full, and store our training data separate from whoever created the AI models, basically allowing us to customize it and run our own private versions without sharing with a bunch of data policies, but sharing with a bunch of companies and allowing them to use our data. So looking into some systems where we'll probably end up with 2 experimental AI systems. One will be more general purpose with a pretty AI, hopefully syntax highlighting, things of that nature, just to allow more general purpose chat GPT type stuff. I even have it set up now where different teams have standardized prompts, and I set the AI to be deterministic to a certain point so that everyone can ask, like marketing could ask, what is the analytics for the last 3 months? And they'll all get the same answer. They don't have to worry about AI hallucinating. And then we'll also maybe have a more not rudimentary, but more less user-friendly terminal kind of data query type AI, just to bounce data around, things of that nature. That's a little bit less graphic, a little bit less UX, but a little bit more heavy duty behind the scenes. So yeah, just kind of a fun side experiment that could eventually tie in to automation for proof of contribution as a whole, or maybe for Game of Realms, or maybe for things we haven't thought of yet. So just that's in addition to that, that's pretty much the bulk of what we're working on at the moment, ready to go over.
Okay, if there are no other questions on the economic side. Okay, the next section we have is the VM and Gno.lang. I think this is what you were mentioning, Manfred, and also
Yeah.
Ray.
I was thinking that I was late. It should be a first section, but actually this is this section, yes.
Okay. Do we want to start with the allow floats statements or the message run demo?
Let's start with let's keep the order. Allow
Okay.
floats first.
Yeah. So, okay, let me quickly on this one as well. There is not much we can directly show.
Okay.
Maybe I can just Michelle, I'm going to share. Allow share. So the first PR, I hope you can see my screen decently, but I know my Wi-Fi typically has problems, so I hope you don't see a bunch of pixels. If you do, tell me. What this PR does is that it simply allows this sort of straightforward test to run correctly. So it was the case that if you have a variable that is a floating point and you try to increase it, this would just not work. And the same would have gone if you tried to decrease it, if it was a floating point. So that's one of the bugs that we managed to fix. That was instrumental to allow finishing the math and math bits package. So this is very large in terms of the package. As you can see, it's around 11,000 added lines of source code. This one adds a lot of functionality that I think maybe Dragos needs, or some for other mathematical things you may need. And it also adds the bit manipulation function inside the math bits package, which opens the door for other packages to be imported. The full set of functions is now exported as part of the math package. So if you do GoDoc and GnoDoc, they will be the same. What else? With this, I am now one step closer to importing the packages of Gnochess, because this was actually required by one of the Gnochess packages. I'll still need to add another standard library, which I'm making use of and is not completely available here, which is the strconf standard library. We currently only have parse float and parse int, but we don't have format in and format float, I think. Or we may only have them for ints and we don't for floats. Anyway, I'm figuring out how to add that right now. Yeah, that's the update on the standard libraries. There are more coming forward thanks to the contributions of Byung-Jun from Unblock. And yeah, that's the updates on the standard libraries that I wanted to give.
Thank you. Do we document which version we copied over from? It'll be it could be
yes.
bad if someone. No. Okay, good.
I also have in the works. I want to create a tool that sort of takes the latest version that we have, that there is in the Go source code for any given standard libraries, and shows the comparison side to side with the corresponding GNOME source, so we can always see like at what points they diverge.
Maybe if we can specify which version to compare against, that would be nice. Then we don't have to always be staying updated with the standard list. But that doesn't change often. So yeah, that sounds like a great idea.
Yeah. If Manfred wants to take the
For sure.
on run.
Yeah, let me share my screen. Yeah, we introduced a new keyword for Gno.key. So initially you only add make_takes call to interact with the contract, and make_takes call requires you to specify which contract you want to interact with, then the method you want to call, and finally from 0 to n arguments that are limited to primitive types such as strings, integers, and floats. And we introduce a new keyword, which is run, and run does not take a package path. It does not take a method. Instead, it takes a file. So on the left, you have a file named tmp/script.gno. Let me zoom out. And as you can see above, I will call Gno.key make_takes run with my key, and I just specify the script. And by doing this, it will. So the main difference with make_takes call, which takes a contract to call, here we don't specify a contract. Instead, we will publish the contract temporarily on chain, but we won't persist it. So this contract will be kind of published, but without persistency. Then it will be run from your realm, from your user realm in terms of context. And at the end, if your contract changes some state from another contract, the state will be persisted, but this contract will disappear. So here I have first version with just print hello world. If you call it, it prints hello world. If I change something here, it will just change the new version with a single symbol instead of two. And the good thing is that in comparison with make_takes call, you are not limited to call a single contract. You can orchestrate multiple calls. So for instance, I think I have something with a loop. So you can call any other helpers, such as calling the render function from another realm. Here, I import the realm, and I don't have only its logic. I also have the state, because it's a real call on chain. It's executed by the validators. So it's not just a simulation, it's actually a real transaction. So this transaction didn't change anything in the state. But if you add, I think I have an increment function somewhere. Yeah, this one, perfect. I have some stateful check. So the stateful check is about calling another contract which has a global variable. First, I print it with before. So in the test package, before the value was 20. Then I call 10 times, so I make a loop of 10, and I call test.IncCounter. So it's something you could usually call 10 times with make_takes call func IncCounter. So here in a single call, I simulate 10 other calls. And after you have 30 instead of 20. If I run the same thing again, it will be 30 and 40, because once again, it's a real call and real transaction on chain. So first thing we can do is to compose multiple make TX call transactions in a single one. So way more efficient in terms of gas. And here I just put 10, but you have the idea. We can definitely go beyond. We can, so just something important to know, the context is special. The context is a temporary contract published under Gno.land /r/your address g1u7 blah 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 /run. So this is something special. I don't know if right now we prevent someone to upload something here, but the goal is to make it not possible through make.tx publish, or maybe make.tx app packaging. Maybe at some point we will do it for advanced reasons, but right now the goal was to upload something in your context. So it's a contract. Technically the caller is not you, but this contract. But since this contract can only be called by you, in practice is like your second account. The good thing with that is that you can choose to send to your contract some tokens. And if you use a banker account here, it won't be your main account banker, but just the amount of money you send to yourself. So here you can see that I am G1U7 /run in terms of path, because my name is my OH caller is G1U7, but the contract is G1NM and finished by FEX. But it will always be the same. So if I send tokens to this contract, or if anyone sends tokens to this contract, I can still ask the contract to send me the tokens again. And I think the last important part, so it's not about composability. We have composability. We are composability in terms of creating multiple transactions in a single one, basically. We have composability in terms of making multiple calls in a single transaction. So here I can make in a single call some state changes on the r/users, on the r/test. So multiple runs at the same time, but not limited to a single one like with make.tx. And the last point, which I think is just super important, is that we can also call complex types. So something which is actually not possible to do from make.tx call, because it requires you to import a structure, initialize it, maybe set up some pointers. So something that could eventually be done at some point with make.tx call, but I don't believe we will do it. So this is an alternative way to make transactions. In practice, I believe we can create a new paradigm here where you interact with your blockchain not from an API consumer point of view, so not making transactions, but by staying in your editor. Right now, you have an editor on one side and the result on the other side. In practice, I think we can maybe at some point make a better version where you write something and maybe you have a comment with a value or something more interactive. So create a new paradigm where the code is your client, and actually the whole GNO experience is to write, read, and interact with GNO code as a GNO virtual node. So it's the V1. There is an issue if you want to participate about things we can improve. There is already a known bug about something which actually is related to what Guillaume showed in his demo. So for instance, if right now I put some global variables here, we have a challenge to address in terms of being able to recycle it. So probably we'll just forbid any state here. We have another bug which is known if you call, for instance, a registry pattern where you, for instance, like this, my dex.register new token, and here I want to pass a function, thank my token. So the call will work, but in practice, the mydex contract won't complain. It will save a pointer to this realm address. But the thing is that this function does not exist anymore. We have a temporary hack in mind that consists of simulating that this contract always exists, even if it's empty. Actually, it fixes the thing for anonymous variables temporarily. Another thing to consider is to make something just about preventing any function defined in volatile contracts to be persisted. But yeah, this is definitely exciting, but also we have bugs and things to improve. And if you want to help, please help. And if you just want to try to integrate it more with an editor, with I don't know, some term caps and curses, so terminal interactive modes, I really believe it can become one of the best way to consume the GNO blockchain. Is there a question from Liam?
Just regarding so you're basically able to call the same function multiple times within one transaction.
Yeah.
Have you thought about like reentrancy and stuff like later down the line? If it may bring about some bugs.
Do you have an example?
Well, yeah, for example, reentrancy can happen, for example, in Ethereum. Well, you basically just infinitely call a function and it doesn't update the state properly. And what happens is essentially you can, for example, drain the funds from the contract itself if it's not handled correctly. So for example, I mean, it's generally changing the dynamic essentially because you're allowing multiple calls to the same function within one transaction. Maybe
it definitely opens doors to other problems. In practice, what you have here is a new call, but since you are able to publish the contract on the left in 8 pkg and then call it, being able to call 10 times the same contract was already an option. Just it was painful to upload a temporary contract to make a single call. But in practice, if you publish this contract, you replace main by my method, you add pkg it and then you call it, you will have the same behavior. So maybe it will help detect more easily such issues like reentrancy, or there's no pattern that were not designed to be called multiple times in the same thing, maybe because they're checking the 8, or the block numbers, the time or whatever. But in practice, we don't add, the only thing we add, which was not existing yet, is to have a contract pkg pass that can disappear. But being able to call multiple contracts at the same time was already an option by just publishing a temporary contract and calling it yourself. And I think you should depend on issue about your security concern question, so we can make sure to verify.
Yeah, cool.
And last thing which is cool is that with the new TXStar system we have for unit test, I don't know if we have an example here, but yeah, we have one. So let me zoom. So the cool thing is that we can use make TX run in TXStar integration test. So here, for instance, we can make a unit test demonstrating a bug or whatever by adding a package which is defined below, and then calling a script which is also defined here. So sometimes it can just prevent having because we have multiple tests where we are simulating strange environment by having, I don't know, 10 temporary contracts. I think the make TX run can also be used more internally to just share snippets demonstrating a bug or unexpected behavior. But yeah, once again, the thing which is new is about having contracts that can disappear or that can be updated. But the concept of creating contract to call non-primitive types, to call 10 times the same things, or to call 5 runs in the same transaction was already possible before.
Yeah, and this is underneath the hood. It's just calling a function like any other GNO function, it is an alternative. Originally, the idea came about because Manfred wanted to maybe use the result of a message, right? And there's multiple messages potentially in a transaction. Use the result as input for the next message.
Yeah, for instance, if you want to make a composability which is more about dynamic, so user added here equal users dot lookup by name J, and then call another contract, my second contract dot GRC20 foo20 transfer to ADDR. This is an example where you want dynamism. Here's the dynamic part is easy to do offline, but if you want, for instance, to call, I don't know, boards last post, and here you want to make something. Okay, I want to reward every poster from yesterday. I can do something like this. And
now you can't messages, right?
Sorry?
Generally. Yeah, so that's example of like expressive. Just using code is better than chaining messages because you get all sorts of expressiveness. So yeah, I don't think our messages should really. I don't think our messages should really return objects or things that are expected to be used. I don't. Maybe there's a way to do it, but I just feel like the serialization, deserialization process, and the fact that the virtual machine is dying and being persisted, and I don't know. It just seems like it'll complicate things. Anyways, I'm ramping.
But yeah, at the end, this was already possible, and it clearly makes sense to be more Go-centric than CLI and API consumer-centric, and just make it more common to share snippets or write code for the logic of interaction.
A quick question: is this code auditable? Basically, but if the code is executed and disappeared, how do we trace what logic has been executed?
It's in the transaction, so you can see it on an indexer. I believe it makes sense from the indexer to have something specific for this, so we can follow what were all the runs from a single command because it will be consistent. For instance, it could be a dedicated history tab when you are looking at some address. But from the blockchain point of view, no, you have it in the block, but you don't have it in the state.
Running this is no different than publishing a realm with this main function exposed and then just running that, calling that. So it's no different.
It's like add package my contract, call my contract dot main and delete, but delete does not exist. But basically, it's exactly this. And in terms of implementation, literally the run new keyword on the VM keeper side is a mix of call and add package.
Okay, how about the versioning?
About what, sorry?
Versioning, let's say.
No versioning. It's a throwaway file, basically. The idea is, so like when you yeah, the idea is that you can run any file you want anytime, and ideally we should throw away the context, so it's a new context every time. So that's where the delete comes in. We should delete it after we run it. But the idea is it's just like go run, right? It's the file is there. It doesn't do much else besides just running something. And
okay, that's fine as long as.
Okay. But right, yeah, we have new issues introduced, and we need to fix them, or maybe remove the feature until we fix them for the launch. But basically, we have implicit versioning because we recycle currently the package path. So right now, if we don't make sure to prevent having a state for this special realm, and if we don't prevent another contract to store a pointer to a function or to a local variable, we can have errors. So that's what we need to fix. And when we fix it, then I think versioning is just a non-problem anymore. We have a problem if things are callable. Here it's not callable, or if things are referenceable. And right now it's maybe referenceable, and we need to prevent this or to find a way to make it persistent. One of the way could be, but I dislike it, to not use it, to not name it r/addr/run, but r/addr/run/1 and 2 and 3. But I dislike this idea. But in practice, it could fix potentially the issue, or partially. But definitely we need to discuss it more, and I prefer to keep this discussion for another internal meeting.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks.
It does persist afterwards, right? Yeah. So at the end of the run, if there's any state changes to any other realms, and it'll
Yep.
get persisted. That's the idea.
Yep.
Yeah, that's the point, right?
Oh, and last thing to know about this, in practice, I think at some point, so first discussion we had, actually, I think I had it with Jay in Miami, but then I had it the same with Morgan, was about, does it make sense to keep the call function and the QEvol, the call function makes sense. Does it make sense to keep the QEvol function, which is about reading by providing custom expression, because in practice it looks like the same. But yeah, the answer I gave to Morgan, I'm not sure I'm totally accurate, but basically QEvol taking an arbitrary expression is super light because there is no additional, there is just a super light additional parsing. So it makes sense, in my opinion, if we want the QEvol to be something where validator RPC providers are not paid to provide the service, to keep the QEvol something minimal. With super low limits in terms of memory, opcodes, etc., while having this one to be like a standard call, where as soon as you can still pay the gas, feel free to just execute some things. So we keep the same tokenomics and spam prevention by just asking the requester to pay. So there is a good reason, in my opinion, to keep QEvol, even if it looks like similar, because it's about providing arbitrary code. The other one was that QEvol is like MECTX call. It does not take arbitrary code. It takes a contract address. While this one is about taking a code, allowing you to import nothing or import 5 contracts if you want. So there is something that X cannot do, like making expressions that will require 2 different imports. And the other question about potential fusion between run and something else was with the REPL. Potentially, REPL is about being interactive in memory Gno.land machine. Maybe it could make sense to think about making the REPL more like this. So either the REPL will be about at the end build like a run and actually make a transaction to execute the code. So we can have an REPL which is more interactive, but to make the same thing, to make transactions and to interact with the blockchain. Or maybe we can do the opposite and having an REPL mode for this. So REPL is about testing things for Gno developers, while the MECTX run function could eventually have something that allow you to not add package main, func main, import, blah, 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 but just write the commands you want to write. But it's definitely a discussion we need to have after, but yeah, MECTX run looks similar to QEvol and looks similar to REPL in some ways. Right now, I believe it makes sense to keep them separated, but maybe we could think about mixing some things. Yes, Jeff?
My understanding is QEval doesn't change state. You don't need to.
Yep. QEval is
So
super light.
it's clear that it's different. Yeah.
It's different, but in practice, we now have 2 different parts of the CLI allowing you to pass arbitrary expressions. And the concept was about having a single way of doing things. It could make sense to unify the way, so we don't have 2 things to learn, but we have basically the non-code way of interacting and the code-based way of interacting. But I believe we need to keep QEvol as it is. So it's different from run with kind of similar expected behavior of being able to pass arbitrary code, including conditions and loops.
Yeah, to me, the read-only nature is important because you could have a local, clone of the blockchain where you don't need to update state and you can execute things instantly locally.
That's completely one of the targets of full nodes. When I think in the future, for people who are not so much aware of how blockchains can work, we can have people who are just validators, some other who are validators providing optional RPC RPC helpers. Probably they will want to whitelist some of them and blacklist some of them. Probably they will want to add a throttle system, maybe just adding an Nginx in front or whatever. But the goal is for not everyone to have to provide the same service, and maybe to have special nodes, special infra for special needs actually. And it will make sense for local full node, something in your private network, to have extra function. So maybe your private node can expose a QEvol version with with higher limits. And actually, it's not a problem because you are managing your infrastructure for yourself. So yeah, just so you know, transaction needs to be deterministic and aligned between each nodes, but optional services not making a transaction can definitely have different exposition for the public internally and with different constraints.
Yep.
So yeah, obviously, like
Go ahead.
there is a problem. There is a problem with running. Like if you have like imagine being in a production context and you have a node which needs to be part of the blockchain and validate transactions, but then it also needs it also gets incoming requests from the internet, from Gno.web, requesting to execute code for free. Then you can see how the code from the internet might slow down the node. So to complete what Manfred was saying, like because you don't actually need a full node to run to run like VMQable. You just need a light client, which is just to the latest up-to-date block. Then you can then you can separate these concerns and make sure that you have a node that is super efficient and cannot be attacked via DDoS, just through the Gno.web and VMQable. And then you have the light clients that provide the functionality to sort of verify the current state of the blockchain, right?
Makes total sense. And for now, render and QEval on the blockchain are free, but I view that as a honeymoon. At some point, it's hard to imagine that calling render will always be completely free. I could change. So it's good that there's a separation of concerns that you could.
Render is basically a shortcut for QEvol calling render.
Yeah.
It's associated with this thing. Maybe render could be an exception once again for validators that want to provide some public services, but not all of them. But I believe we will have validators that are just validating and some other providing infrastructure for the public. What would be nice is to try to find a way to incentivize people to provide such nodes. I don't know if we can do it maybe with a special fund, but let's discuss this later. Just keep in mind this concept of making a difference between validation and providing query functions.
I want to add a little bit to this.
Yeah.
Hopefully it's not too much. When we first launch, we'll probably be limited when we launch to non-token transfer functionality, so that you can't transfer GNOT at first when it launches. But this could change in the future, or you can use these tokens from your account to pay for transaction fees, right? So you can use them. You can use them to run GNO VM transactions and pay for gas for that. So so it's good. We should continue to build functionality where an account can be used to pay for services such as querying and rendering, if the server demands it, and that's perfect as long as we don't require transferring to use this feature. That's good. You could have a node locally, or a validator could route all the queries to full nodes that are replicated from its validator, so that queries never go to the validator. Anyways,
Or just mirror the transactions in state for your realm that you care about, right? Not the entire blockchain.
Mirror.
I'm imagining.
Well, maybe. I mean, then we'd have to do dependency analysis to figure out within Gno.land, I guess. Yeah, but that would be complicated. I don't know if anyone would actually do that. I suppose they would. Yeah, let's say I want to try this realm, give me all the dependencies, and just download those stuff. I guess that makes sense.
Yeah, the context is with GNOME Mobile, we're always thinking about, can you use an app offline, right? So if you don't have access to a validator in the blockchain, but there is enough memory on your laptop or mobile to have a mirror of just the state of your realm, then why not call render to a little local node that's running on your mobile, and you can browse messages and a message board and all kinds of stuff offline.
Yeah, and maybe this is an opportunity to implement like not Bitcoin Lightning Network payment channels, but a different kind of payment channel where, like, for an account, maybe I can give it limits and say, like, I can't transfer money from this, but this sub key can use it for these transactions. Maybe I'm kind of rambling here, but maybe my phone has a private key, it's a device key, it's a sub key of my account, and it's got limited abilities, and it signs like a session cookie with the full node that I'm interested in getting services from, and that allows that. Yeah, and then there's I guess once in a while the payment is released, but anyways. Sorry, it's not fully fleshed out. Let's move on.
Okay.
Just what you say for information looks like an idea that we had at Bertie about having a companion, which is a special relationship between devices. It can be mobile, but could be anything, with a bigger node providing extra services. One of them could be to make a peer-to-peer request while without having the mobile to connect to hundreds of peers. So one of them could be to have an RPC node, which is available locally or even from the internet, but as you said, looking for a whitelisted account. So we can imagine having one for a company or for a family or whatever. So yeah, this is a concept of having companion, which can be personal or shared within a company, a family, a group of friends, a community, providing extra services to identified clients.
Okay, and I guess we might want actual Lightning Network payment channels implemented too. I mean, that makes a lot of sense to just sign something, give it to the server, the full node, and the full node knows that it's going to get paid when it wants.
That's basically the target for the Bertie grant. Bertie grant is about bootstrapping a new ecosystem of clients with mobile, and actually not only mobile, but the next step, once you have native clients, you can have such things with deeper connections. And one of them is to use an extra protocol on the edge. So the GNO consensus is using a simple P2P, just the internet, and it's okay, while having an extra network where you can count on companions or other people or whatever to be the relay, including to pass some messages or just to have extra access to query something or whatever. So it's something in at the last step of the Bertie plan in terms of collaboration with GNO.
Okay, so I think we have just a few more things. Just sharing again. Okay, I think we got to here, right? So the new message type discussion. Keeping in mind the time, there is also, I believe, the 1305 from Dylan.
Yeah, that one and the next one too are both
Okay.
issues I've been working on with realm persistence. This one is going to get a review, final review sometime this week, and I'm actively working on the other one. So yeah, the goal is that soon we can have some VM bugs fixed to make sure that we persist those values to the realm correctly.
Yeah, I'm due to take a look at that. If there's anything, by the way, that maybe was merged recently that I haven't reviewed in time, I think yeah, I'll take a look at those too. Just put them on Jay's project board, please, and I'll get to it soon.
And then you said 1326 too, Dylan? No.
Yeah, yeah, just they're both realm persistence issues.
Okay, so nothing really to discuss, more just things for review. Okay, so Milos, you want to run us through Tendermint 2?
Yeah, no, not too many updates. Two contributions by Jeff. One which was a fix for Amino, forcing it to use lowercase snake case for protobuf field names. And the other one was a fix there where Amino generate proto now takes into account Go comments. Before they would practically be omitted. Now they're in the proto. There was a minor improvement by Antonio. I say minor because it's just a library version bump, but in reality, it's just a huge performance gain. We kind of what this fix was we bumped the library version for BTCC, which is a crypto library Bitcoin uses and like a lot of crypto projects use, from a super old version to the latest one, and we got essentially 70% faster signing for any kind of transaction, and this is something that's been reflected in our TPS results and just like general performance testing, where it's now much more stable and it's not as flaky as it used to be. And yeah, there was one more contribution by Dylan. He basically improved the append implementation readability. And yeah, that's pretty much it for Tendermint 2.
Okay, so we're here. I think there was, so this is kind of a follow-up from discussions with OnBlock. I've just put them all here so everyone can review them. I think Dongwon might be here still.
Yep, I'm here.
Yeah, these are the things that the contract interaction, porting packages, no VM debugging, air gap flow. So these were the things we had talked about that do require feedback from the team. Just giving it a shout out, I guess.
Oh yeah, how do I find those?
They are so here, let me here's the agenda, so it links all of them, and they are the section 6 Q&A. I did put them as Q&A, but they are things like with Dongwon provided that are a little bit blocked, I think. And so I'm just also promoting here, soliciting to the team if you guys can take a look at these and provide feedback. That would be great. Okay, and there's just one more. I don't know if we want to talk about it. It's the 1374 ordered tree structure. And I guess at this point, it's kind of like we decided that maybe 1 hour, we're still at 1.5 hours, but like if people need to go, that
I say we're overrunning enough to leave it for another day.
Okay. I just didn't want to leave you hanging Morgan.
I'm not hanging. This is like a low priority thing.
Okay.
We'll be starting January, February anyway.
Okay. Okay. Great.
Yeah, let's do it another time.
Okay, so instead of 1 hour, we've gotten 2 hours. We've gotten down to an hour and a half. But yeah, I just did want to call it out that these are really important. I think from the OnBlock team. If you really guys could look into them, that would be great. They're also linked here in the issue. And I don't know if there are any questions from others on what we've covered.
Yeah, just a general shout out for Michelle for structuring the call in. Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, agreed.
Thanks. Yay. But if you guys don't know, then next week is the contributor call. So these are bi-weekly. One is no core and one is the contributors. But yeah. All right. So if there's nothing else, then we will plan for next week with the contributors for updates. Thanks, everyone.
Yeah, thanks everyone. Appreciate it.
Bye.
Have a good day.
See you guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Hey, if there's any blockers, please add them here. I just sent the link. So if there's any blockers, just put them in there. Thank you.
Cheers.
Thanks, Jay. Bye.